Viewer discretion is advised. I start wilding almost immediately, so don't be surprised.
Welcome to another untimely review. It's true, I've returned, and this time with holiday cheer too. It's almost time for me to professionally hate, and while I know that this video was dreadfully late, cut me some slack, I tend to overnap, but trust that this video was definitely worth the wait. And if you think that every line of this script will rhyme, you must think that I've got far too much time to spend to blend lyrics and such, but I don't, and I won't. Plus, I think it's a bit much. So sit your booty on the floor, in a chair, ground her in the air, just don't go nowhere, and like, comment, and subscribe. I think that's only fair. But be wary, although it won't be scary, it still might be risky since we're about to find out how the Grinch stole Christmas in 1966.
We open with the sounds of singing, trees falling, and the wonderful sense of Christmas. The Who's are all decorating the town and their homes, and we see that either they are magic or design plungers that can turn into Christmas decorations, for some reason. Either way, it's very fun. A little too fun, in fact, because while all the Who's are in Whoville, the biggest hater watches from atop his mountain, the Grinch. The OG Green Grouch.
Ding dong, you're wrong.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
Professional hater. And don't ask where he was on January 6, 2021. We find out that the Grinch actually has a medical condition called coronary too small myopathy.
Yes, science!
That's why he hates the laughing, the cheer, and most importantly, Christmas. Then we learn that the Who's are decorating on Christmas Eve, which is a huge waste of time because you can't even really enjoy them, and then you take them down in like 2 days. Very dumb. Anyway, the Grinch talks about how he hates all the noise and the festivities that the Who's put on, and we hear another one of the songs that the Who's put on for the holiday. It's not that good.
That shit was ass.
The Grinch mentions that he's been putting up with this for 53 years, which at that point you should just find a new mountain to live because half a century of hearing when you don't even like the music is a little too much for me. But maybe he likes it, I don't know, whatever. But this time, Grinchy has had enough and plans to stop Christmas, and while he does this, the most fire hater anthem plays.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are here.
His plan is to dress up as Santa and steal everything, because if you're gonna commit holiday atrocities, you should always do them as someone else. And once his Santa outfit is done, we find out that his dog's name is Max. Definitely should have run away by now. And the happiest dog that still deserves better. So with Max in tow, the Grinch makes his way down the mountain to Whoville, where he steals everything. Stockings, presents, Who hash, whatever he could get his hands on. But while committing the most devious of licks, one of the little Who's wakes up, named Cindy Lou. Deus Ex, small child. When Cindy confronts him about stealing all their stuff, the Grinch tells one of the worst, dumbest fucking lies about how one of the lights on the tree isn't lighting up, so I'm gonna take the entire tree with me to fix it.
Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy.
Is this nigga serious?
But because Cindy is 2 years old, it works out. So after leaving her house, he does the same routine with every house in town and even steals the tree in the middle of town. He makes Max pull everything on the sleigh back up to his mountain, which the special makes sure to say is 10,000 feet up, which is about a third of Everest. And yeah, a third seems small, but Max is like a wiener dog, so his stubby little legs aren't meant to be doing all this. It's very sad. I'm laughing, but it's very sad. Anyway, when they reach the top, the Grinch waits to hear the townsfolk crying now that their holiday has been ruined, but instead they gather in the town circle, and because I was right that they were magical, they conjure a star using their forbidden tongue and mastery of dark arts. This confuses the Grinch, and obviously the artist and director too, because they show his fupa for way too long for no reason.
Oh, what a dick.
Wow, it's Toonerific Tariq. How'd you get here?
You asked me to be here.
I mean, yeah, but I also ask a lot of people a lot of things. But thanks for stopping by though.
Whatever, this is the last time I answered a Twitter DM.
Now, back to what I was saying before I was interrupted.
You asked me to do this! The fuck?
Because the Grinch thought about the concept of Christmas for more than 5 seconds, he changes and his heart grows 3 sizes, which means he turned his medical condition into another, probably worse one. And the special ends with him returning everything he stole, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't say he's the one who stole it since they just let him cut up the holiday ham with no questions asked.
But before we discuss this movie's pros and cons, we've still got 2 more films to go, so let's move on. The next in the sequence isn't as fondly remembered, but I've got to stretch out this video. It's my only one this winter. So let's get down to business after this round's end and find out how the Grinch stole Christmas in the year 2000.
Off rip, we're given way more info about the Grinch and his world in this one, where we learn that 1, they're tiny and live on a snowflake, so I don't know how the OG Grinch was over 50-something years old, but we're not gonna compare and contrast everything just yet, so let's keep it moving. The narrator sets everything up, and we're down in Whoville during the Christmas rush. We then see Cindy Lou and her dad, but neither of them are getting cards because who cares? And everyone's running around buying presents. But while that's going on, some Who kids go up to mess with the Grinch, but before either one of the island boys can even touch the door, the Grinch sends Max out to scare them. And because this version is different than the last, the Grinch 2000, born too early to fight in the keyboard wars, has only child syndrome, and will probably teach your child a slur. So the Grinch decides to go into town and do a little assault and whatever this is, and we see that he somehow beat the island boys back to the city because when they finally do get there, we find out that they're Cindy Lou's brothers and that the Grinch isn't just an urban legend to the Who's, he's actually a certified menace to the society. Even though he has a mailbox down at the post office, seems like they wouldn't give that to him if he was so feared, but whatever, I'm sure we'll get some backstory on that. Anyway, we see the Grinch committing some federal mail crimes, pull a Spider-Man pre-Spider-Man, but he still gets caught by Cindy Lou. She falls in the mail sorter because someone thought it would be a good idea to put a giant uncovered hole in the ground, but the Grinch saves her before anything untoward happens. It's weird that no one heard either of them scream, but whatever. After all that, Cindy and her dad go back home to see Mrs. Betty Lou Who. Proof that suburban white women are everywhere.
Don't fight me, because I know how you girls like to tussle.
Okay, so really quickly, I went to look up what Cindy's dad's name was because Betty calls him Lou, which I thought was weird because that seemed like someone calling their last name with the Who part just being like a designation or something.
Now back to the show.
Then we see Betty Lou's rival, Martha May Whovier, but she doesn't get a card because who cares? Then we see the Grinch take some weird tunnel in the middle of town that shoots him against gravity up to his mountain where all the garbage is sent. Back with Cindy Lou, she's singing about Christmas with like a British accent for some reason, so we're skipping that.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that bullshit.
The Grinch is finally inside and we see why nobody likes him. He's a dickhead. Duh. This happens. And for those socks to be moving, only one thing can be true about the Grinch, but I'm too afraid to say it.
It's been a year, Daddy.
The next day, Cindy Lou is out asking some questions about the Grinch, and we get sent back in time for his origin. They put this joke in the movie.
Hey, honey, our baby's here. He looks just like your boss.
10 out of 10 no notes. And during the flashback, we see the Who's having a swingers Christmas party, which is weird. The ugliest little creature you have ever seen. Oh, I think he's cute.
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Almost lost my cool there.
Anyway, we find out that Martha and the Grinch had a little thing going on back when they were in whatever grade you're in when you're 8. I'm not looking it up. And even though he liked to get into trouble from time to time to time, he still made Martha a gift and even tried to conform to the Who beauty standard, which didn't really work out for him. After the entire class makes fun of him, aside from Martha, the Grinch at 8 years old went to go live in his mountain, and that's the last time anyone ever saw him. In the present day, the Grinch is doing his daily hate affirmations while the Who's are putting on their big Whobilation celebration where Cindy nominates the Grinch to be the homecoming king or whatever. Cindy goes up to the mountain alone.
Where's your mother?
To invite the Grinch, where she does a little B&E since he's busy doing whatever this is. She tries to convince him, but he's still trying to avoid going, even though he likes the idea that he won something because that means there were losers. We then get a little montage where he looks for an outfit to wear, like he didn't just have his Grinchussy out talking to Cindy, but whatever works as an excuse for him to hit these poses, I guess. When he does make it to the Whobilation, he gets a face full of Martha May Titty, reunites with the 2 Who's who took him in when he was that ugly baby, and we get a Christmas montage of made-up rhyming events. The festivities end though when they joke on the Grinch, which doesn't seem very jolly of them, which causes him to get PTSD, and while he does make a good point about how greed and expensive gifts often ruin the spirit of Christmas, maybe he didn't have to burn down their Christmas tree. And now after about an hour of the movie, we're finally around the time where we can actually see how the Grinch stole Christmas, but since we saw that already, we're just gonna skip all that until we get something different. So aside from the Grinch making so much more more noise that it's annoying, having the mayor literally kiss Max's butthole, and the Grinch's engineering skills, everything was pretty much the same this time around. Now, instead of the town coming together and singing, which would make the Grinch's heart grow, everyone's pissed off that they were robbed, which I guess that's fair. But after the mayor chastises Cindy, her dad sticks up for her and talks about what Christmas is really about, which gets most of the townspeople back in the spirit. So with the Who's down singing a tune while Cindy goes looking for the Grinch, his heart grows 3 sizes again, but instead of it just moving him to give everything back, we still need that tension, so his giftmobile starts falling off the cliff, but instead of it being Max on it, it's Cindy Lou. He saves her, because of course he did, and they all ride down the mountain with all the gifts in tow, with the Grinch saying, and I quote, "The sun is bright and the powder's bitchin'." And this movie was rated PG probably solely on that one line. When they get into town, the Grinch apologizes and bags the town baddie Martha, even though she could have went up the mountain at any time, but whatever. And the movie ends, this time at the Grinch's house, with everyone enjoying the holiday feast.
Now, there's only one more on the list before we reach the end, so let's reset, recharge, and do this story all over again. For this next film in the list, I don't know much to compare, but I do know that it includes a collab between the Grinch and Tyler Baudelaire. So let's just see how cranky and mean is the Grinch from 2018.
Unfortunately, we are immediately greeted by 2 of the most annoying creatures put to film.
That shit was ass.
But then I'm surprised to hear Pharrell's voice as the narrator, which would be good in any other situation, but after Boris Karloff in the original and Sir Anthony Hopkins in the 2000s version, it is definitely something to get used to. So Pharrell goes through all the same intro plot points from the other 2, but when we get to the Grinch's house, it's actually not even that bad. Still a whole bunch of dangerous and precarious holes to fall down, but he's got some style in this one. And speaking of style, we get our first song by Tyler, the Creator, and it's cool, I guess. But like, not really. Or at all, in fact. Like, it's not the best. Like, I like a lot of the new Tyler songs, and while this one is better than whatever the fuck the music was in the 2000s version, this one just doesn't hit like the OG. Oh yeah, different Grinch again. The Grinch, 2018, is British and rightfully ashamed of that, so he suppresses his accent. Could have had friends, but actively chooses not to. And he's lame and ugly. He sucks. Anyway, when it's time for breakfast,
I hope you're hungry for nothing.
So, because the Grinch stress ate all his food, he has to go down to Whoville to stock up, and at this moment, I feel like this is the worst one already. But let me give it a chance. I know I'm not gonna like it, but I'm gonna give it a chance. We're gonna keep going. But at the very least, this version of the Grinch is proud of his Grinchussy, since he only bothers to put on a scarf before going into town.
Dude, put that thing away. They're like children here.
Actually, earlier in the movie, you can see him put pants on. That's not actually his skin. Maybe you should pay attention to the movies you review next time.
You got me now. You got me now. You got me now. Oh, you figured me out. You fucking nincomb fucking poop.
First, I know, but it's much funnier to keep up with the Grinchussy joke, you nerd. Second, it's a stupid change they did for no reason since the rest of him is clearly furry, so he just has extra furry pants for no reason. Explain that one, Professor Grinchologist. Before the Grinch makes it into town though, we're introduced to a brand new character who I promise won't be annoying or unnecessary. Donna, a strong, independent Who woman who doesn't need no Who man. And Mom of the Year, 3 years running. When the Grinch does make it to town, he's chased by carolers like a roving holiday gang until he can make it to the grocery store. How he's paying for anything is a mystery since he obviously doesn't have a job. But when we pick up with Donna again, we see her getting breakfast for her family, which we find out includes Cindy Lou. Cindy goes to mail her letter to Santa, but she runs into the Grinch, who pretty much just says, he's not real. And after the Grinch has been mean to a child for literally no reason, we're introduced to a new character, Bricklebaum, the holliest, jolliest lawn gnome. Bricklebaum then invites the Grinch to the Whobilation later, and again, we see why this is the absolute worst version, because even though he was invited and Bricklebaum is being very nice and friendly to him, he's like, no, I'm better than a silly Whobilation. I don't have any friends, while he sulks in his house.
Weird, buddy. You're weird!
While that's happening, Cindy plans to go to the North Pole to talk to Santa, but because her mom tells her that it'll take a month to get there and she'll miss Christmas, she decides to rethink her plan. Later, during the Christmas decorating and lighting, we find a dude named Groupert.
Damn, the party not lit, then I'd rather not go.
She tells Rupert, funniest name to say in a video so far by the way, that the reason she wants to talk to Santa is because she knows how hard her mom works to support and take care of her and her brothers, and she thinks that Santa could help. Before the tree gets lit up though, the Grinch tries to destroy it, but ends up lighting it himself. Whoops! And then we get the backstory to why he's so grinchy. And it's because he was an orphan and sad that he didn't have a family during the holidays. No one was mean to him, he just felt left out. So yep, calling it. This is the worst Grinch so far, but we've got like an hour left, so I guess we'll just have to deal with it. The Grinch goes over his plan to steal Christmas while Cindy and Groot go over their plan to meet Santa, and both plans are equally more drawn out and annoying than they need to be. But since they are doing something different with the Grinch and Cindy, let's go over both. So the Grinch is doing the same pretend to be Santa thing, but he's got a new reindeer named Fred. This is the ideal male body. You may not like it, but this is peak performance. The Grinch steals his sleigh this time around because again, just the worst, and you think that he could make one since he makes a Max Copter and whatever this is, but all he does is modify the sleigh, cause he's lazy. Cindy gets her friends involved to trap Santa so that she can talk to him, and that involves a cookie trap. And that's it. But oh wait, the Grinch finds out that the actual reindeer he was using has a family, so he lets him go, and now it's just back to him and Max. Why was this little arc needed when we've already seen the Grinch be a little nice and conflicted about the whole hater thing already? Who knows? But this movie loves to add things seemingly just for the runtime, so whatever. Then when it's time for the Grinch to make his Santa outfit, it's even more clear that they could have just had him make the sleigh and cut out some of the fluff. But again, we're just doing whatever, I guess. But now it's Christmas Eve and the stealing begins. It follows the same as the other two, but since Cindy laid a trap, one that the Grinch shouldn't have fallen for since he makes a point that he needs to stay focused. But you know that the plot needs to keep moving. A plot, by the way, that has been really creative in ways it didn't have to be, but uncreative in that it keeps the stupid fucking a light bulb wasn't working on your tree, so I'm taking the entire tree to fix it for some reason. But because the Grinch did get trapped, Cindy gets to make her request to him, and it obviously changes his perspective, but he's still gotta follow through on his grand theft because he already stole everything. What do you want him to do? Return everything and apologize right now and spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out how to make Cindy's mom happy and not be stressed all the time? No, that would be an interesting deviation. We don't do that here. And aside from that little change, the movie's the exact same. The Who see everything is stolen, they don't care, they sing, the Grinch is like, hey, maybe I can be happy. Everyone gets their stuff back, roll credits. Sure, there's a few extra steps like Fred the reindeer coming back for no reason, Max getting a Christmas present, and the ending being far more sappy, although I do like how slow and meaningful they at least try to make it.
It's finally over. Yes, it's finally done. And now that means that we can actually review and start where we begun. But to keep it a buck, I must tell you the truth. I have a lot more negativity to spout, that I can't dispute. So no more rhymes, not another clever thematic parallel. Let's find out what I think, and let's see if any of these movies still hold up well.
Now, as a professional hater myself, there's a lot that I can connect with the Grinch on. Not wanting to be bothered by others, oftentimes focusing on the negative rather than the positive, and just being grouchy all the time. And all of that helps me to understand the Grinch in a way that I don't feel like I usually get in other movies. With that being said, I feel like watching all of these kind of back to back, the Grinch took me multiple days because I find that movie annoying, but we'll get back to that. All of it honestly made me even more Grinchy. The reason that I'm saying that is because in terms of telling the Grinch story, obviously the OG is the closest and best one to do that. But each subsequent movie does something so mind-bogglingly dumb to his character that it just frustrates me. But we always start the reviews with love, and there still is a lot to love about every interpretation, just some more than others. The first one, I think, has the least amount wrong with it, and while that's because there's no fluff or added plot points, it's cool and doesn't feel like there's anything that could be left out or unnecessary. I don't think you need to know why the Grinch is Grinchy. He just hates Christmas and is an angry old man. Not trying to humanize him makes his heart growing 3 times feel more like it's something that could impact anyone, and since there's no backstory that can come off as dumb or even worse, makes him seem like an even bigger asshole. The music is also leagues above anything the other 2 movies do, with the 2000 version being by far the worst. But even with that being said, I wouldn't listen to any of the music in The Grinch for fun either. Maybe there's some deep cuts on the album that didn't make it into the movie, but Tyler's version of "You're a Mean One" is just not good to me, like at all. For anyone that would want to watch The Grinch story, I would definitely suggest the OG first, but that's not to say that the 2000s version is actually bad. In fact, I don't get why this movie has as bad reviews as it does. Yeah, for me, I think Jim Carrey's performances can get grating and annoying after a while, but I know that that's not something most people would agree with, and while the scorned love plot point is stupid, this is a kid's movie and it does other things so well that you can kind of forgive stuff like that. The set design and just overall art direction are my favorite of the three, and it does make it feel like a completely different world than it just being regular people reskins. Like during the Jubilation, some characters are walking around with drinks on their head for no reason. It's just creative and weird, which I think movies like this should be. But before talking more about the positives, I think that's one of my biggest criticisms of The Grinch, which is that there are some fantastical elements, but it just felt boring. Which, since this was made by Illumination, and I really don't like any of their movies, maybe that's why. But back to the positives. I like how the 2000s version establishes how part of the reason why The Grinch hates Christmas is the commercialism and focus on presents, because I think it does modernize it in an interesting way and actually does work with his new backstory, even if that backstory sucks. And finally, I do think that Jim Carrey is good as the Grinch. He's just really over the top, and since he's just like that in everything I've seen him in, it's just whatever to me. Oh, and I do want to mention how good his makeup is. I'm glad they actually won an Oscar for it. Good for them. For the Grinch, the only real positives that I have are that I like the relationship between Cindy Lou and her mom, and this is probably my favorite Max. That's it. But with that being said, I do think that it's cool to see how each version of the Grinch is differently characterized. The OG is the calm, more sinister one, Carrey is the lovable dickhead, and Cumberbatch is what I think British people are like. I don't know, just kind of irritable, I guess. So now, we can get to the hating. Again, since there's really nothing wrong with the OG, I'll move past that one and we can get to the ones that deserve it. What I love about the overall Grinch story is that it's a very simple redemption story. It doesn't need to explain or rationalize the redemption because it's supposed to show that everyone is capable of change. It's like the less specific Scrooge. And that concept that everyone is capable or even deserving of redemption isn't even something that I actually fully agree with, because there are some unremorseful, awful people out there. But the idea of the potential of redemption is something that I think is needed. It's a hopeful outlook, one that I think is especially important during the holidays, and seeing that happen to the biggest hater, no him, not me, it turns a very simple story into a powerful one. The 2000s and 2018 versions fail that completely, just in different ways. So the main thing that I think the 2000s version does wrong is that it makes all the adults in Whoville assholes. If they're all dickheads, why wouldn't the Grinch also be a dickhead? And I'm not talking about when they were kids, because yeah, they shouldn't have laughed and been mean to him, but I'm talking about when they were adults. We never see the old ladies that took care of him trying to go see him. When he goes down to the Jubilation, they all laugh at him when he's given the razor, and the only adult that isn't a bad person or just annoying is Cindy Lou's dad. But he still laughed at the Grinch when everyone else did, so he's not even really that good. Even her mom is just petty towards Martha, even though we don't get a reason why. I guess it's because she's supposed to be hot and rich. It's not like she says why. Then, during the flashback, we see that the Grinch is just inherently, at the very least, a troublemaker because he hits another baby when the stork drops him off, and when he's a little older, he's just mad destructive and takes pleasure in doing bad things.
Fun to do bad things.
So with that in mind, his sudden heart change doesn't really make sense. Before they let an 8-year-old boy live in the garbage mountain, it seems like the two Whos at least tried to treat him with love and taught him well enough so that he should have gotten that heart change much earlier. It's not good writing, not good town and people, and it's really not a good baby animatronic. So aside from this movie also having the worst fake snow I've ever seen in a movie, I don't really have that much more to say, negative or otherwise. I definitely don't think that this movie is as bad as its reviews make it out to be, and honestly, if I weren't trying to look deeply at the story solely for this review, I might not have even cared too much about it not really working for me, and at the very least, they were going for something different and creative. For The Grinch though, I don't even really understand what the point of this movie was. Like, none of the additions, Fred, Donna, Beauregard Q Kazoo, or Blooper are important or give any different understanding to the Grinch. In fact, some of their inclusions, specifically Bricklebaum, go against what the movie was trying to say. The Grinch's entire reason for hating Christmas is that he felt alone because he was an orphan and didn't have anyone to share the holiday with. It's not a good excuse, but whatever. Again, these are kids' movies and we just gotta keep that plot moving. But if Bricklebaum knows the Grinch, and obviously has for many years, and has constantly been nice and kind to him, why would the Grinch still be acting like that?
What the fuck is your problem?
Oh, he's not thinking clearly. He's a damaged person. Okay, if a person is constantly trying to be nice and include someone and that person actively decides to reject that, that's on them. At that point, it's a decision. And since the Grinch's whole transformation comes from seeing Whoville come together and have merriment without the need for gifts, Bricklebaum did that at the beginning of the movie. Bricklebaum is like, hey, they're making Christmas 3 times bigger this year. It'll be fun. I hope to see you there. I wanna be your friend. And the Grinch was like, bro, I ain't going to that shit. For me, it seems like they wrote a script for a movie and realized it was only like 30 minutes long, so they just put in unnecessary characters and scenes. Like, why did the Grinch need to run recon on Whoville to see how many houses there were when he has a full-scale model of the town? And stuff like this just kept happening to the point where I don't see how the movie even got this far in being made. I thought maybe I was really getting annoyed because I watched the other 2 versions already and just knew the story, so I was really looking for something different or interesting, but I feel like these issues are so blatant and annoying that even if I didn't know who the Grinch was to compare with the version in my head, I still would not like this movie. I mentioned this at the end of the Grinch recap, but it would have been so much better if the Grinch went above and beyond to help Cindy's mom, and in doing so, that's how he became part of the Who society. Him doing odd jobs to help, or even just a montage of talking to the Who's to figure out how to help, but no! They established that she needs help, and then nothing happens during the whole movie where she gets any help. Even if they wanted it to end with the sappy ending, they could have still done it at the end and just have the Grinch repenting or whatever during Christmas Day through a montage and ending it at Christmas night. There's just so much missed opportunity with this movie. And honestly, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Like, I don't care about Benedict Cumberbatch or whatever. I don't care about Keaton Thompson. Like, they were fine, I guess. It's whatever. The issues for me have mainly just been the stories of these movies. Everyone who acted in them did okay. Like, they're not winning no Oscars or awards. It was fine. But the stories of these movies were just not good. When I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes score out of curiosity after I made the joke about the 2000s version just because I was curious, I thought people might have just been like, oh, it was unnecessary in general, and people were just like, why watch this when there's 2 other versions that are fine? But no, this movie, even with the moments that I genuinely do like, just sucks. Other 2 are cool though. But what did you think? Will you watch any Christmas movie because you're just all about the vibes? Or did I make you into a Grinch just by proxy? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, check out another one of my videos while you wait 6 months for me to make another one. And huge shout out to Tunerific Tariq for having a part in this. Go check out his channel, show him some love like he showed me, and thanks for watching.